Coming up on Jerusalem Dateline, painful delay, hostage remains returned slowly from Gaza. And Incubators of Terror, a new report about direct ties between UNRWA schools and Hamas. Plus, the Christian Allies Caucus honored in the Knesset for standing with Israel and effecting change in the Middle East. And how you can enjoy the fruit of the land while bringing hope to small businesses in Israel. All this and more coming up on this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Julie Stahl. 2 weeks after Hamas was supposed to have returned all 48 hostages, living and deceased, Egypt has stepped in to help with excavations to retrieve 13 missing bodies, 2 of whom are Americans, as the remaining live hostages leave the hospital for home. Here's the latest on these stories and more. Israel is allowing an Egyptian team with heavy equipment into Gaza to help search for the bodies of 13 remaining Israeli hostages.
This is a technical team only, and none of these personnel are in the military. Now, the Red Cross and the Egyptian team are allowed entry beyond the IDF's yellow line position into Gaza territory to conduct the search for our hostages.
All 28 bodies should have been returned 2 weeks ago, but Hamas says they can't find them. President Trump warned Hamas on Saturday he was watching very closely to ensure the terror group returns more bodies in the next 48 hours. He wrote on Truth Social, Hamas is going to have to start returning the bodies of the deceased hostages, including 2 Americans, quickly, or the other countries involved in this great peace will take action. Before leaving Israel for Qatar, Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with the families of 2 American hostages whose bodies are still held in Gaza. He said the U.S. will not rest until their and all remains are returned. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made it clear that Israel's security is in its own hands, and it will decide which countries take part in the peacekeeping force in Gaza.
We've also made it clear regarding international forces that Israel will determine which forces are unacceptable to us, and this is how we operate and will continue to operate. This is, of course, acceptable to the United States as well, and its most senior representatives have expressed in recent days Israel is an independent state. We'll defend ourselves with our own forces, and we will continue to control our destiny.
The last 5 living hostages freed 2 weeks ago left the hospital Sunday and received a hero's welcome in their communities. Meanwhile, the U.S. relief agency Samaritan's Purse, headed by evangelist Franklin Graham, sent a 767 airlift of food, blankets, and solar lights to the women and children of Gaza. Graham said Hamas held captive not only the 250 hostages taken on October 7th, but also the people of Gaza.
There's over 200,000 packets of food that is been fortified. It's enriched with protein and so forth. It's a supplemental food, but it helps save life. This plane is going to be a lifesaver for a lot of people.
Samaritan's Purse sees the plane load of supplies as a tool God can use to show his love to the people of Gaza.
Israel had hoped for the return of another hostage's body. However, the Health Ministry's National Center of Forensic Medicine determined that the body is not one of the 13 who remain in Gaza, but additional remains of a hostage that's already been returned. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said this constitutes a clear violation of the agreement by the terrorist organization Hamas. It's now been a week since Hamas last turned over a hostage. Netanyahu will convene a meeting today to discuss Israel's response. Meanwhile, there's evidence that the Palestinian Authority, despite promises to reform, continues its pay-to-slay policy of paying terrorists who attacked Israel. Itamar Marcus from the watchdog group Palestinian Media Watch confirmed this. Payments proceeded as usual, and recipients confirmed receiving half their monthly stipends. This comes months after European leaders praised what they believed were reforms and pledged more than $230 million in new funding to the PA. Back in September, Netanyahu told Fox News that he did not expect the Palestinian Authority to change.
Pay for slay, they pay terrorists to murder Jews, and the more Jews they murder, the more the pay. If all of that is turned on its head, there's a tremendous transformation, well, good luck. Some people will believe it happens. I don't think it's going to happen.
Turkey's President Erdogan continues his push for a role in Gaza under a proposed international stabilization force. But Israeli leaders say no way, citing Erdogan's open defense of Hamas and his support for its leaders.
Erdogan led hostile approach against Israel. So it is not reasonable for us to let their armed forces enter to Gaza Strip.
Speaking from Air Force One, with President Trump at his side, Secretary of State Marco Rubio showed continued solidarity with Israel.
Israel didn't surrender its right to self-defense. Obviously, the ceasefire is based on obligations on both sides.
Even Gulf states like Saudi Arabia and the UAE oppose Erdogan's plan, fearing it would empower instead of disarm Hamas. In Qatar, there are revelations that the government's main spokesman has applauded past Palestinian terror attacks against Israel. Joshua Swanson, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Up next, new revelations about the ties between Hamas and the UNRWA school system. The UN Relief and Works Agency, or UNRWA, states on its website that its goal is to help young students in Palestinian Authority areas understand the world in which they live and learn values of tolerance, cultural identity, and gender equality. Our next guest from UN Watch claims the opposite is happening. Take a look.
Hillel Neuer, thanks for joining us, Director of UN Watch. Talk about UNRWA in the relationship with Hamas, and especially things that were discovered during the war, the 2-year war between Israel and Hamas.
So look, UNRWA is the UN agency that's supposed to care for Palestinians. They run schools, clinics, kind of a welfare state for Palestinians who are in Gaza, Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, Lebanon, Jordan, Syria. Millions of Palestinians are supposed to be helped by UNRWA. What we discovered during the war is that UNRWA is not part of the solution, it's really part of the problem. We discovered, and it was revealed, that numerous UNRWA employees, including teachers and social workers, were part of the Hamas massacre. They participated in the massacre, and that was a revelation for many. For us, we were watching UNRWA over the years. We knew that many of the teachers were regularly inciting anti-Semitism, jihadi murder in the name of Allah, praise for Adolf Hitler, and other kinds of incitement to terrorism and anti-Semitism. We had exposed that for 10 years. UNRWA's typical response was not to take action, not to fire those who promote terrorism in a classroom, but to attack us. Now, when October 7th happened, these revelations, we began to do more research, and our recent report called Schools in the Grip of Terror, 200-page report, reveals in detail how the heads of the heads of the UNRWA education system, a teacher, school principal, and head of the teachers union in Gaza, Su'ail al-Hindi, was also a Hamas terror chief. This is known information. UNRWA knew about it. They did nothing. They allowed a member of the Hamas Politburo, who is in pictures with Yahya Sinwar, the mastermind of the October 7th massacre, to run their 13,000 employee union in Gaza. Same in Lebanon. A teacher, school principal, head of 2,000 members of the teachers union, a guy named Fathi al-Sharif, was the head of Hamas in Lebanon.
So was this indoctrinating one generation after another into jihad?
Absolutely. I mean, Hamas said it. When this guy, Fathi Sharif, was killed, they said, we praise his jihadi education. So the UN allowed someone for 30 years to be a teacher, school principal, overseeing the union of 2,000 UN teachers, paid for largely by the American taxpayer. America was giving somewhere between $300 and $400 million a year to this system that knowingly employs Hamas terrorists and even terror chiefs. What do we think they were doing in the classroom? They were certainly indoctrinating the young people, the young Palestinians, and recruiting them to join Hamas. And we were paying for it. Thankfully, America, first under President Biden, temporary 1-year freeze cut on the funding. President Trump made it permanent. Netherlands announced to begin cutting money to UNRWA. Sweden announced a complete cut. Sadly, the UK, Canada, Australia, France are still funding this terror-infested agency.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. What other nations besides what you've already mentioned, who are supporting this?
It's mostly Western countries, and there's a history to this. The Arab states said, we don't want to make this into an Arab-funded agency. We want Western support because every bit of funding comes with it political support, political legitimacy. The terrorist factions in Lebanon, in Gaza, like Hamas, like the others, they say, if Switzerland is giving us money, if the UK is giving us money, Canada, France, Norway gives a huge amount of money, they are endorsing our narrative. And we didn't talk about that. Let's say it's not just that they're employing terror teachers. The very raison d'etre, the very purpose of UNRWA is to tell Palestinians, you have the right of return. Sounds nice. What it means for Palestinians is that the war of 1948, when the Palestinian Arabs and their neighbors tried to destroy Israel, is not over, and that millions of descendants of Palestinians are going to enter Israel, like October 7th, in a violent, murderous way, and dissolve Israel, dismantle Israel. That's the essence of what UNRWA is all about. It's not an aid agency that's just giving out food. It's telling Palestinians, your home isn't here in Gaza, your home is in Tel Aviv, and your job is to dismantle Israel.
Well, thanks for your insight into this and exposing what the world really needs to hear.
Thank you.
More than 20 years ago, Israel's parliament established the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus. As Chris Mitchell reports, it's a way for Christians and Jews to work together to combat anti-Semitism and support the Jewish state.
Recently, Knesset members and Christian leaders gathered in Israel's parliament. Josh Reinstein is the director of the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus.
We were at an all-time low after October 7th. Terrible massacre, nothing that we've seen since the time of the Holocaust. And in the preceding 2 years, it's been victory after victory. First over the terrorist organizations, then Iran, and then finally got our hostages back. So we wanted to do a ceremony to thank God.
Reinstein says since its early beginnings, the influence of the caucus has grown in the Knesset and around the world.
10% of the whole Knesset show up to speak, including the Speaker of the Knesset, the Foreign Minister. The network has grown in leaps and bounds. We're about to launch next week our 63rd caucus in Panama. We have over 1,600 legislators on our network. We're doing an event in December to honor President Trump. It's really unbelievable to see how people of faith have made a difference for the Middle East and Israel specific.
Former U.S. Ambassador to Israel David Friedman explained when he discovered evangelical Christians.
I came to know and to love an entire community that I had really very little exposure to beforehand. And it was the Christian, people of the Christian faith, and in particular, the evangelical Christian faith, but not only. I mean, but people of Christian, all types of different Christian faiths. There's this massive number of people in America, throughout the world, that believe that that God will bless them if they bless Israel and curse them if they curse Israel. That they have that as sort of their North Star. So, holy cow! I mean, I thought we were this tiny little helpless minority living by our wits and running from place to place, escaping the latest brand of anti-Semitism, and then all of a sudden I find out that we're not alone. We have all these friends, and it was incredible.
Each year at the Feast of Tabernacles, Reinstein releases a list of the top 50 Christian allies.
It's a very significant list because it gives us an opportunity to say thank you to our dear friends around the world who are standing with Israel like never before. Christian support for Israel is paramount, and people feel it more and more. It's Christians, not countries, that stand with Israel. And so for us, we wanted to just recognize the top 50 this year, as we do every year, who really did something special to stand with Israel since October 7th.
One of those 50 Christian allies, Pastor Larry Huck, addressed the gathering. He told a story of speaking to Israelis when he came to Israel right after October 7th.
They said, we felt like we're all alone. And they said, you being here, just you being here, makes us realize that as Israel, as the people of Israel and as Jews, we are not alone. And we're here to tell you, you will never, ever, ever be alone. There are millions of us, and we're recruiting an army bigger than ever before.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, the Knesset, Jerusalem.
When we come back, why one pastor rejects an approach many churches have towards Israel. There's a school of thought in the Christian church claiming that God's promises for Israel are no longer valid. It's called replacement theology. Pastor Jim Scudder from In Grace Ministries has a response to that and shared it with our bureau chief, Chris Mitchell.
And the reason I know that's true, that we have not replaced Israel, is because God gave unconditional promises to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They were unilateral. It was just God to them. It wasn't like, if you promise to do this, and there were promises like, if you do this, I'll bless you. But that's not what the covenant to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was, that they would bless the whole world, that they would be as the sand of the sea, that they would have this land forever. So it was like a God unilaterally, unconditionally, and eternally giving them a promise of this land. So that's where, if God has promised me eternal life, and I've believed in him, and I've trusted in him, and I know that he keeps his promise to me for that, and he'll never leave me or forsake me, and all of those promises that we have, then his promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and their descendants is also as sure. And so that's where we feel replacement theology or supersessionism is incorrect, but that God has a plan in the future for the Jewish nation. And look at this nation. It shouldn't be here. Never in the history of the world has a nation been dispersed, and they usually assimilate into the other cultures. Not Israel. They came back just as promised. And I think once you come to Israel, you say, wow, this is a miracle that they're here against all odds, against all these attacks. They're still here.
Yeah. And is this the message you try to bring on In Grace and your church? Yeah.
So I teach that a lot. We come to Israel. We do a lot of filming interviews. We go to the actual sites. We look at what they're digging up. We showcase that, like the Bible is being verified all over the place.
Yeah,
in Israel.
because we've seen each other in Shiloh.
That's, I think, where we first met.
Yeah.
was in Shiloh, and there's a dig every summer, and they're finding everything exactly what the Bible would describe from the time of Eli, Samuel, Hannah, and all of that. So, yeah, I mean, you're surrounded by buried things that, when uncovered, they always verify the Bible.
Yeah, it comes to life.
Truly does.
Any final thoughts?
Chris, just I think the blessing of God in Genesis 12:3, I want God's blessing. And I'll tell you this, since we have been emphasizing our love for the Jewish people in our area in Chicago, Illinois, and the Jewish people in America and the Jewish people in Israel, we have had more blessings, and I can't even describe all the things that God has done for our ministry. I don't know for sure this is God blessing us because we're blessing Israel, but I think it is.
Yeah, well, it's a great message and a great testimony. Pastor Jim Scudder, great to be with you.
Thank you, Chris.
Another way to show solidarity with the Jewish people is to support small Israeli businesses. Our next guest has found a solution that allows you to sample some great products. Take a look.
That's right, Julie. We're joined here in our studio with our good friend Itai Schimmel, the founder of Arts a Box. And you have a special box for us today. Often you come to us on Christmas, but this is a special time of year.
Yeah, this is a very special one. It's great to be back here as well. The theme of this box is hope, tikva, and it came out around the same time that we found out that the living hostages are going to return home, which is pretty beautiful that it came out at the same time. And it's a really special box. Everything inside the box is made by small artisans and charities, farmers here in Israel that you're directly supporting. And all the items are inspired by the theme of hope.
Yeah. Tikva meaning hope in Hebrew.
Exactly.
Yeah. And certainly this was the hope and prayer for millions of people around the world.
For years
already.
Hostages. Yeah. For over 2 years.
Yeah. Tell us what you have.
Yeah, of course. So inside the box, we'll start off with this product. This is a ceramic dish which is made by an organization from the Gaza border communities. They're called Adi, and they're an incredible organization that hires youth and young adults with Down syndrome, special abilities, and the entire thing was made by them as well. Yeah. And they chose to emboss the olive branch in the bottom of it.
Sure.
Symbolize, to symbolize hope and peace as well. We have this beautiful necklace, which, if you can see, is the Star of David and the map of Israel. And inside is the Hebrew word tikva for hope engraved into it as well.
Yeah.
So this is made by a guy called Shacha and his wife. And they were making this when the Iran war happened. So they actually told us that they took everything from their factories and they went into the bomb shelter in their home, and they were packing thousands of necklaces in their bomb shelter.
Only in Israel.
Yeah, only in Israel.
Yeah.
It's crazy. We always have delicious foods, as you know.
Yeah,
We've tried some of them together.
Yeah.
So in this box we have a Majadra rice mix from a farmer in the Galilee. It's a third generation farmer. We have these delicious beet crisps, which come from a father-son company in the Golan Heights.
Can we try those later?
Yeah, we will definitely try them later. We have to, they're so good.
Yeah.
And then we have this za'atar spice mix, which is made by an artisan here in the old city of Jerusalem. An amazing guy. And then we have a few more products. This one has been a really fun one. This is a sand art kit where it's a dove and an olive branch, and you make the frame and then you can pour different colors of sand inside of it. And it's just been really fun to watch our subscribers with grandparents and their grandkids, or with parents and their kids making it together. So it's just been really beautiful. And then the last product is this body soap, which is made with waters from the Jordan River. It looks beautiful, it smells amazing. It's made by this amazing artisan called Debbie. And everything here is included in the Hope box.
So for those that may not have heard of Artza before, tell us what motivated you to get this started.
Yeah, of course. So Artza, we founded it 5 years ago now. Time flies, it's crazy. And there were two missions. The first one was to support small businesses, artisans, farmers here in Israel. So how can you directly support them? And especially over the past 2 years, that need has increased tenfold. And the other mission was how to connect people to the Holy Land in a meaningful way, where it's also immersive and tangible. So how can you take items, beautiful items from Israel, from amazing farmers and artisans, and deliver it to people's homes so that they can experience and taste, touch, smell, real beautiful elements from the Holy Land, from the land of the Bible, in their house. And the idea was, well, why don't we send a box every 3 months, and every box will have a different theme, and there'll be 7 to 8 products inside which really encapsulate another area or another region in Israel. We have a special discount for CBN viewers as well. If they use the code CBN15, they get a 15% discount on anything which they get, any box they buy. And they can get it from our website, artzabox.com, which is artzabox.com.
Sounds great. Thanks, Itai.
Thank you so much.
Still ahead, how CBN partners helped one woman's housing situation go from desperate to beautiful. Home is supposed to be a place of refuge, but for one Israeli woman, it suddenly wasn't. Thanks to support from our CBN partners, CBN Israel was able to transform a bad situation into something lovely.
Veronica lived in a kibbutz near Jerusalem for more than 20 years. But due to a privatization of the kibbutz property, Veronica was asked to move out of her house.
They told me that they needed to let me go from my job. And in January, the kibbutz called me and say, you need to pay 2 times more for the house where you are, or you need to move. And I was like, I don't have a job. I just didn't know from where to get any help at all.
The kibbutz offered Veronica a different house, but it was so old and run down, it wasn't fit to live in.
The condition of the house was terrible, like really, really terrible. And when I came in, I just started crying. It was so difficult for me because I saw that this house was in many ways falling apart. It didn't have a kitchen. The bathroom was terrible.
That's when a friend shared her story with someone at CBN Israel.
Suddenly, I got a phone call from CBN and they tell me, we heard that you're going through this situation, you need to move, and your house is in terrible conditions. And I said, yes. And I was just crying because, of course, I prayed to God, and I knew that it was the answer to my prayers.
Thanks to your support, CBN Israel helped Veronica with the renovations and motivated her to keep going. Now she's working again and supporting herself.
They opened the door for me to be able to see that there was hope and that I could advance. My heart is full of gratitude. All the time I think about the people that came to help me, especially CBN. because without them, I would not be able to have what I have. And now I come home and my house is beautiful. It's such a blessing. I am so grateful, so grateful.
That's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. And please keep praying for Israel, the IDF soldiers, and all those caught in harm's way, and that the families of the slain hostages would receive their loved ones soon. Remember, the God who watches over Israel, and you and me, neither slumbers nor sleeps. I'm Julie Stahl. We'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.